Welcome to the Get Sculpted podcast. We're your hosts, Tiana,
Jordana,
and Marilyn.
This podcast is all about cutting through the noise and giving you the real deal on fat loss, muscle building, and what it really takes to build your 2.0 sculpted self, inside and out. Our motto is to work smarter, not harder. We'll break down science-based and actionable strategies to optimize your metabolism, ditch the diets, and create a sustainable, fit, and healthy lifestyle that actually works for you. So if you're ready to get stronger, not just skinnier, and embrace a body you love, hit that subscribe button and let's get sculpted.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Get Sculpted podcast. It is officially June, ladies. How excited are we?
Woohoo, love it.
Finally. I love this weather.
Finally. I know, me too. The sun is out. The days are longer. Summer is around the corner. That also means, though, that school's almost out for the kids and vacations are getting booked. Weekend getaways are getting booked. And that's super exciting. It all sounds amazing. We've been waiting for this. But we know that for a lot of women, summer travel can stir up a lot of stress, right? When it comes to fitness, food, and how they're going to make progress with their goals. So for a lot of women, they start thinking, what about going on vacation? I'm going to ruin all the progress that I've made. Or how will I stay on track if I don't have my routine? And the fear of losing control often leads women to be in one of two extremes. They're either trying to stick to their plan 100%. They spend the entire trip feeling anxious and guilty if things don't go the way they want. Or they go into full-on screw-it mode. They eat everything and drink everything. They abandon their habits and they come home feeling terrible that they need to start over. So we've talked about this in past episodes, but I know I've been at both of those camps. What about you girls?
Absolutely.
We've all three of us lived in one of those two camps.
Yeah, it's feast or famine for vacations.
Yes.
And it was never one consistent thing all the time. Yeah, it was the fear of the routine breaking as well was a big one for me.
Yes, that's a big one for sure. And for me, it took years of trial and error and a lot of regret coming home to realize neither of those extremes worked, right? And they're not necessary because we know that there is a better way. And so that's why this episode is so important. It's definitely an episode you are going to come back to because the truth is you can enjoy vacation. You absolutely can. You can stay present. You can make memories and you can still stay aligned with your goals. So in today's episode, we're going to be telling you exactly how you can do this. You're going to learn about a realistic approach to training and nutrition that you can use while you're away. We're going to, as we always do, give you simple, actionable strategies to help you stay on track. And we are going to help you with a very powerful mindset shift that is going to completely change how you approach travel moving forward. So whether you have a beach trip planned, a family getaway coming up, or you're trying to figure out how to navigate summer barbecues and weekends without losing momentum, we got you. Are you ready, girls?
Yeah, let's dive in.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Okay. So first thing we want to kick it off with is one of the most important things to staying on track while traveling, and that is your mindset about how you actually approach the experience. So like we talked about, a lot of women will sabotage themselves before the trip even starts. And it's not because they don't have drive or willpower or don't want to stay on track, but it's how they're thinking about the trip going into it. So we talk about this a lot, but it comes down to an all or nothing mindset. Like I said, shows up in two ways. One, it's this perfectionist attitude where you say, I'm going to work out every day and I'm going to eat clean. I'm going to skip dessert. I'm not going to have any alcohol. And it sounds great, but then you go on vacation and you feel like you're missing out on everything. You feel completely miserable and deprived. The second way is that you kind of go completely the opposite. You tell yourself, it's vacation. I deserve this. And you totally let loose. And you just think, I'll figure it out when I get home. But you go off the deep end. And you're eating, you're drinking, and oftentimes you are consuming things you don't even want to consume. And you come home and you feel so guilty. So I bet for our listeners, if they think about it, they definitely fall into one of these two camps. I'd love to know, girls, like when you've approached vacations, do you have any specific times you can tell us about where you fell into one of those two camps of being?
There was a memory that came up on Facebook the other day that was really appropriate, which was when I went to Cuba in 2012. And at the time, I mean, I was totally a party animal as well. So that all-inclusive bar was totally calling my name. But I also was really deep into being obsessed with being skinny. And I would very much go into restriction mode. And leading up to that vacation, I was basically like starving myself and on an extremely strict low-calorie diet that something clicked as soon as I got on the plane. I was basically binging on everything. I was binging on the airplane food, the snacks, the buffet, and then the alcohol. And then I remember seeing my pictures that came up on Facebook, because at the time we made Facebook albums of like every single detail of our lives. So
in there, guilty.
It would be like me out having pina coladas. But yeah, I remember thinking I don't even want to take pictures. Like I was so distended that like I was uncomfortable. And yeah, there was body image stuff, but also like it was just not good for my mental health or my gut health. And I just think back, it didn't need to be that way. It really didn't.
It doesn't. Absolutely.
For me, it was, I can think of multiple trips where I was already on this health and fitness journey and I was struggling to find my middle ground, I'll put it, because I had a coach at the time. I wanted to live up to what her expectations were of me. And at the time, that didn't really set me up for like a healthy balance. It was more of a like all in all the time. There's no room for error. And that includes when you travel. And I think that created a little bit of like a messed up approach to traveling that made me feel guilty for trying foods that were only ever going to be available as this part of this experience, or, you know, constantly wondering where the gym is and how I'll fit it in or how I'll fit movement in, which, listen, all of these things, we're going to go over them and why they're important and how to create your balance for that. But to get wrapped up in that perfectionist element and then try to like live up to a standard that wasn't realistic for me at the time, like that's where my mind goes with a lot of these trips that I went on. That would include like trying to travel to like Thailand for almost a month. We did go to gyms, we did eat out, we did do all of these things. And I look back and I'm like very proud of how I navigated that experience. But I also know I did it in a healthier way for me. And I came home and there was some guilt about how I navigated that trip because of where I was getting some of that information. So I'm psyched we're doing this episode today because I am so happy we can set the record straight in a lot of stuff.
Absolutely. And I'm sure our listeners have very similar experiences to the ones that we shared. And so I think like the big takeaway here is either of these approaches, they do not work long-term to support your goals. So whether you're going in feeling restricted or you're going in saying, I don't care, your health and fitness should not have an on or off switch. So we talk to our clients a lot about that. The real goal is you have to be intentional and you have to do things that support how you want to feel wherever you go. So your health and fitness can follow you in every single experience, every event, every vacation. So at Get Sculpted, we call this living a fit life that lasts. One of my favorite sculpted standards that we have, because what it means is you don't make these choices once in a while or when it's convenient or when you're only at home and you can control all the variables. Living a fit life that lasts, it allows you to adjust your training, your nutrition, and your choices to whatever you have going on. So you are always staying aligned with your goals. So, Jord, you said it. It's like finding that balance, that middle ground. And you want to ask yourself, you know, what are the things I can do on this trip to feel my best? What are the choices that I can make that are going to help me feel good in my body? Because there's nothing worse than feeling crappy on the way while you're there and then feeling bad when you get back. It's not a good feeling at all. So no on and off switch.
Yeah. And this is going to fundamentally change who you are. That's the goal, is to make an identity shift. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. If your vacations looked one way, if it was binge drinking and binge eating and not moving and just lying down all day, it is going to have to change. Or on the flip side, if you were dieting the whole time and being miserable, it's really allowing yourself to realize that the lifestyle you live here at home is going to be very similar to the lifestyle you live in every location, with the grace of giving yourself some modifications.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I think it's also focusing on what you can do, because we've come across a lot of clients. I know, especially like when you're working with someone, it's like they get to that point where it's like the first vacation or the first weekend that's going to be out of routine. And it's kind of like that thinking of, oh, I can't do this, but I can't do that. And I always say, well, instead of focusing on what we can't do, what can you focus on that you can do? And that kind of leads into what you were saying, T, about you should be able to modify things with whatever's going on in your life. So on that note, Jord, I would love to pass it on to you because maybe you could talk to our listeners a little bit about how they can stay on track with nutrition when they are on vacation or away.
Yeah. The one thing that I love to think about when we're building a fit life that lasts, and if we can frame this conversation through this lens of what we're talking about today around traveling, it's also about how does your best self want to go on vacation? I often ask my clients that because how their best self shows up on vacation is probably going to look different than all the vacations they've ever taken before. Or another question I asked was like, if you were retired and you're going on a number of vacations a year and doing more traveling in general, you have all this free time, how would that change the way you look at traveling and vacations and the approach you would take to nutrition and training? And usually what most people would say was, oh my gosh, if this was just how I lived my life, like the environment really wouldn't impact how I want to live my life. I would still have most of the same principles in place. And so the common mistakes that I think people make when they're going to travel is thinking, on one hand, they have to be on this very strict diet, that how they are at home, if they're in a fat loss phase or a muscle building phase, whatever their fitness goal is, that they have to take it with them at the same level of detail and accuracy that we're looking for while they're traveling. Like, you're setting yourself up for failure in that case.
For sure.
Eating out doesn't have to equate to disaster. You just need to know how to navigate those and what to expect on the other side of that so that you're not creating, panic unnecessarily. You're going to eat out. There's going to be more salt. You're likely going to gain some water weight. Like, if you know that cause and effect relationship, you can plan for it.
Yes.
The second piece is being like so rigid before you go that when you do go, you end up throwing all your habits out the window, being like, I just need a break. I deserve this time off. So if we're able to kind of work around those two pieces of that mindset, you're going to want to start to cultivate a level up of that mindset to help you secure this middle ground. So a couple things that I would reference here for you is, one, mindful eating. Vacations are an amazing time to start and figure out listening to your hunger cues and starting to look at the choices you would make by evaluating things on your own, like without the training wheels of being coached. You know what I mean? The second piece is having your principles in place. So prioritizing your protein at every meal, you're doing that at home anyways. And when you're on, let's say, a meal plan, or you're looking at your macros or whatever you're doing, you're still prioritizing that protein, but with more tracking and data in mind. When you're on vacation, you're going to be looking at, how do you structure the plate?
Right.
You're going to choose your protein source first. That's probably going to be one of the biggest portions, along with like your vegetables is your next one. And being able to craft your plate in a way that would align with the energy you want to have, the strength, the goals that you have, so that you're nourishing yourself instead of just eating what's convenient. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to add, when you said the training wheels for the coaching, that was important too, because it doesn't need to be there all the time. But when you have a base of weighing your food so often and you've gone through a system and you have a framework, you realize, hey, this isn't just me taking marching orders. I get it now.
It's intuitive.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, wait a minute, I'm not just going to have a grilled cheese. That doesn't make any sense. There's no protein. It's good to have a baseline. And then when you do intuitively eat, it's going to be done more in line with the physique that you want to keep.
And it gives you a chance to create that guilt-free eating moments where I remember being in Greece and we were at a restaurant, Joey and I, in the hotel, and the experience of eating there was just magical. You had to order your chocolate souffle at the beginning of the meal because they made it from scratch. And it took your entire meal to make it and bring it out to you. I am definitely ordering the chocolate souffle. There's no world that exists where I'm not going to try that.
I know I want it at the beginning. Sign me up.
I know I want it at the beginning. Yes. And I'm going to have it and I'm going to savor every bite. And let me tell you, 14 years later, I can still remember that souffle and where I was sitting and the decor of the restaurant. And literally like Joey and I were on our honeymoon, so I could like look him in the eyes. Like I could place myself in that seat and still experience that moment. And I think that's like the magic of traveling when you start to lean into your middle ground. I think that's the really special part, is you can start to savor those moments, and food plays a big role of that.
For sure. It's definitely freeing. And, T, you've brought this up on other episodes too, I believe, where it's kind of fun to have the cuisine of the place that you're going to. So like you said, when you have the framework and you can kind of lean into that, it almost is like your safety net, because you're like, I know how to navigate this. I know what a balanced plate looks like. Exactly.
Like here they got chicken, here they got kebabs, here they got their pitas. You're like, I get it.
Yes, you know what to do, but you also allow yourself that freedom. it's like a weight actually being taken off of you because you're like, I know how to navigate this and I'm going to enjoy this food to the fullest. So I love that now. I want souffle.
I know, right? So let's cover 3 situations together. I would love everybody's input. So the first is at airports, because this can be a tricky situation. You're often traveling at different times of day than you would normally eat, or an overnight flight perhaps. And so bringing high protein travel snacks has been a great hack. And I've never actually had any trouble traveling with food before.
Nope.
As long as it's pre-made or pre-cooked, packaged up.
And not liquid.
Then you are good to go. So things like hard-boiled eggs, jerky, Quest chips are some of my faves. But what do you girls do?
I was just going to share a funny story. One time, me and Brian, it was first thing in the morning, and we had chia overnight oats. And this is hilarious, but I must have added a little more liquid to his. They're like, shaking the jar around. They're like, yours is a solid, but yours is liquid.
That's hilarious.
He's like, are you serious? And then he had to go like I guess by the side of the security or whatever and eat it. And he looked at me.
I was going to say, did he eat it? He didn't throw it away.
Of course he did. He's like, I can't believe you gave me the liquid of your oats. I'm like, I'm sorry. So make sure it's rock solid.
That's so funny. So all the things you said, I've absolutely used and recommended to clients. But another thing is, depending on what time you fly or not even, but some of our clients will prepare things. So one of the things that they'll do is like, actually, the 3 of us went to Vegas and I think one of you brought like your protein pancakes. Maybe it was you, T. I don't know. And we ate them on the plane. Yeah. So you can actually incorporate some of the things that you would actually have at home, bring them with you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm such a believer in like living by the lifestyle of if you can make it at home, freaking make it. Wonderland, I'm bringing my food on when I go to, I don't know, like an event or something, like I have something in the car, not like an event where there's food, but, you know, like if we're in between, like the travel. And at the airport, honestly, the food is nothing that great. It's so expensive. For what? For eggs and toast? Like I could have made that at home. So I recommend just bringing like Ziploc bags or, you know, like the Tupperware that you're like, why do I even have this? And then just get rid of it. I do that every time.
And I actually like packing a soft lunch bag, like to bring to the airport for those snacks, because if you're on a longer trip, like we've traveled for like 3-4 weeks at a time for various destinations, you can then, when you're traveling, actually go to the grocery store, pick up a few things. You can bring sandwiches with you, and then you have already a cooler bag that you can take with you. And that's actually been super, super handy for us over the years.
Good tip. Even the Tupperware along with it, actually, now that I've done that too, where you bring it and then you wash it, because same thing. You get an Airbnb and you prep your food and you're having it on your trip.
That's true.
Exactly. Not all meals have to be eaten out. But let's say you're at an all-inclusive resort. I would love to hear your girls' approach to buffets.
Oh, that's a good one. So I actually do this here too. If I go to a buffet, I scan the room first. I will go and I will actually take a lap or two at the buffet just to see what is available, because I know from experience in the past that I have gotten my plate, put a little bit of the first thing and then the second thing, and then I get back to the table and my plate is, anyway, you know the drill. So
and then you miss out.
Yes. Yeah. So I will take a lap or two and I will see what is there. And then I will actually think about it. Okay, what proteins do they have available? What do I like? What do I want to eat that maybe, I don't get at home? And I build my plate basically based on what I would have at home, prioritize protein, carb, fat. That way I'm making more intentional choices rather than impulse on like, I'll just grab everything at the buffet. So that's my number one tip is take a lap or two, see what's there, and intentionally choose what you want to eat, not just what's there because it's in front of you.
That's such a good tip.
Yeah. I actually do the exact same thing as you, Mar. And the other thing, to take it even one step further, if you're at a space where most buffets, especially at breakfast, or if you're going to hit up a restaurant at an all-inclusive multiple times, like the menu doesn't change. Like you're going to go back and have another opportunity. So it's a great time to be like, I'm going to have this today and I'm going to save that other thing for tomorrow. This is a skill that is practiced and learned over time. That I was just having this conversation with one of my clients who travels a lot for work, and she was saying that it's actually come up from like childhood for her around a feeling of like scarcity around the food. And like if you're traveling, you want to be able to try all the foods because you're never, ever going to be able to try it again. Depending on the destination, that could be true. And then you would be mindful of your portion and you could still have it. But most of the time, you can go back to most of the places that you're going to go, especially with something like an all-inclusive and it's a buffet or something like that.
It's like there's the same old chicken.
Exactly. And then it's about reassuring yourself that you are safe, you don't have a scarcity mindset around food. You want to have an abundance mindset around food, and that all these options are available to you. And guess what? You're traveling. If you really wanted something, especially at a resort or an upscale space, hotels are there to serve. You can ask for it. And I'm sure that they will accommodate you. So that's just an interesting kind of like client story where it actually came back to like a scarcity and abundance mindset around why choosing certain foods.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I always remind myself, I used to put so much pressure, especially when I was really in this deep dieting mindset of, oh my God, I wonder how much oil they put, or oh, how many grams is this? And then I'm like, you know what? Just big rocks here.
Yes.
Broad strokes. Like that's what I remind myself of. Honestly, when you look around, not to judge most people, but for breakfast, they're eating donuts and no protein. So if you're covering your big rocks, you're going to be more than fine with staying in a reasonable range. And I give myself grace of knowing you're not going to probably be in a deficit, and that's okay. You might just stay at maintenance, but that's okay. It's unrealistic to expect a deficit. You shouldn't even expect that. You just don't want to come back taking 2 steps back. So I kind of tell myself, hey, I'm going to choose the lean proteins. Are they cooking them with oil? Probably. Am I weighing them? No. Am I going to have a little dessert? Sure. But like by and large, if you follow the big rocks, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I love that. So with that, T, do you want to give us a scoop on staying active while we're traveling?
Okay. I love this because, I have strong,
of course you do.
Strong feelings about this. Yes. So first of all, I personally love gym tourism. That's a big part of how I travel. But I understand some people, especially if you're newer to lifting, we're kind of speaking to the people here who are like, okay, how do I not miss out on progress? So the number one thing that I want to make clear, which I think is where a lot of women go wrong, is that you don't need to have movement to burn off your excess eating. Okay. And lifting is never going to do that. I don't know how many times we're going to probably say it in every episode, but that's good because people still will be like, I missed a workout and am I going to get fat? And I'm like, no, it doesn't work like that. Lifting is good because you're building muscle. You're either building muscle or you're maintaining muscle. So beside the point of lifting, you also want to move your body because that's contributing to just how many calories you're putting out. So there is something to be said for that. But whenever you try and burn off how much you're eating or an energy surplus with more activity, it's a losing battle.
Yes.
And that's just not a good, healthy mindset.
100%.
So I will say, though, that movement is always going to be helpful because there's many health benefits to walking aside from just burning calories. You want to make your default to be moving your body.
Absolutely.
You guys know I always say this too. The default for most people is sitting.
Yep.
And we want you in your everyday life to be getting outside, like moving your body, go on your walking pad, like take little mini movement snacks. So that really shouldn't change when you're away. And this is actually a perfect opportunity to work on your mental and physical health by just getting outside, getting more steps in, like really touring your destination.
Yeah.
That's a really no-brainer one. And then a lot of the time, I think people really miss the mark too with the training because there's no reason to take a break from training just because you're traveling, especially if you have access to a gym. And I'll make the case for that because you're not working. This is a time to relieve your stress. You have more time. And then you have the facility available and it's a new environment. So I'm a believer in keeping your routine. Maybe your workouts aren't the same equipment. It's not as long, but you're maintaining that promise to yourself. When I go on vacation, I'm not like, I'm going to take a break from showering and brushing my teeth.
Yeah,
it's true. It's so true.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully not.
Yeah, so the best workouts happen when you're looking at palm trees. That's my take.
And the gyms are very quiet.
Yes.
It depends where you go because lately it gets a little busier. But yeah, you have an opportunity to really like try something new there. So use it if you can. And if you can't, as someone who really likes lifting heavy, I get it. Sometimes I'm like, oh, okay, like a body weight thing. I don't know. But there is something to be said for doing like a band workout or body weight or like bringing a TRX or just using some lighter equipment, even like household items. I've seen people use Tide jugs or cans and things like that. You'll get a nice pump. You're going to set that tone for your day. It's going to be part of your day.
Yeah.
Are you going to build a quantifiable amount of muscle in that workout? Probably not. But hey, it's still value. And that's what I remind myself of too. You're keeping it in your routine. And I would say, I'd love your guys' opinion, but for someone who has the issue of staying consistent, keeping their routine is kind of the thing they want to lead with.
That's what I was going to say.
1,000%.
Yeah. Like that's what we've been talking about. Is that action is what keeps momentum going. So before I go on with that, I just want to go back to your point too about the fact that it is vacation. So you generally do have more time, right? Like you can't say like work's in the way or I have to do this, I have to do that. Literally the day is your oyster. Like you've got so much time to do what you want. So I love starting my day with a workout. And oftentimes I will leave my husband sleeping. Love you, but I generally train alone. but I'll leave him sleeping. So you can leave your family sleeping. You can go, and that's also you time. So that's, I think, a big, big point is like you have the time, use it, because that's going to keep you in the mix of everything. That's going to keep your mindset sharp. I'm working out. I work out at home. I work out on my trips. It feels so good. And I feel better personally when I work out on vacation.
I still come back to the question of like, what would your best self do? Like if you are living in your best body, living your best life, like you have everything locked and loaded, what would your happiest self do on vacation? She's going to want to move her body. She's going to want to continue to feel good. And whether that is going to be in the gym, resistance band workout, or even like if you're at an all-inclusive or something in your hotel, like a lot of these hotels have classes now, like go and try one. Like you don't want to do the norm? Okay, go and try something new, kind of like on the gym tourism.
The water aerobics.
I love the pool ones. Oh my God. We went to Dominican and it was funny because it was all these super jacked guys and I loved their accent too. They're
water
like,
aerobics.
It is time for a aerobic class. And I'm like, yeah.
I love water aerobics.
But it's fun.
If you love water aerobics that much, I used to teach it. You can come to the pool. I will.
Can you do it,
I will
please?
give you a private class this summer.
And we're going to stream live.
We'll live stream for everybody.
I second that. I love water aerobics. It's fun. It's so fun to try new things.
And that's the thing. Sometimes fitness really is like, we always talk about it needs structure and it needs a system and intention, but it is also a fun part of your life. It's also a fun time to try new foods and try new training. I love it.
It's true.
It's so good.
Yeah. On that note too, like if you don't really know where to start, this is what we tell our clients specifically before they go away, depending on where the client is in their journey, we're going to recommend something different and what type of trip it is. If someone's a seasoned vet and, they're going away and they have a hotel gym and they're not really a big drinker, not a lot's going to change. We might not really give them too much. They might not even deviate a whole lot at all. I would actually love to open this conversation up to you guys and go through a couple scenarios as well. Like if someone were newer to their plan and they're navigating, let's say, just a weekend away or a short trip, or, this is a good one that comes up a lot. Let's use a work conference. What main action steps would you give them to give them the minimal effective dose to be able to make progress?
So since I've lived and breathed this forever, and I have a lot of clients that are in this situation fairly regularly. So it's like something that you have to set up as part of their ongoing plan is when they have to travel for work. First things first, we have to figure out what part of their schedule is in their control. Some of my clients, they are literally running these events. So they're on 18, 19-hour days and there's literally no time. They barely have time to sleep. So in that scenario, we are making sure that the food choices are prioritizing protein, prioritizing veggies, making sure that visually or using our POM method, we can get them nourished as much as possible. The second thing is hydration. If they are drinking enough water, for sure. And usually at these events, they are walking a lot because they're walking back and forth from their room, they're on their feet, they're networking, they're doing all the things. So they are having big chunks of seating when they're in moments of networking or moving around to different rooms, encouraging more of that steps. Workouts are going to be a little harder to do, but I do like to do something with the bands that 20 minutes even that they could do first thing in the morning when they're getting up and they're getting ready. Yeah, like a hotel room workout. That would be my go-to for a weekend conference away.
I love all of that. I do all of those things too with my clients. It also depends on how long they're going. So I have a client, she's going to be gone from today to Saturday, I believe. So I said to her, okay. And she basically what you described is what she's going to be, like morning till night doing things. She's like, I just don't know. And I said, okay, can you front load your workouts and get them done before you go? So realistically, maybe those days will not be workout days. So you can control the controllables, your food, your hydration, your sleep, your stress as much as you can. But can you do your workouts before? Can you make your workouts start on the Sunday and do like a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday? That way you have at least 3 workouts done.
I love that.
That's what she said. She's like, this is brilliant. And she actually messaged me and said, got my workouts in, I'm ready to go. And she went into the trip feeling so much better because she had already accomplished what she knew she wanted to do. So that's what I would add to that.
Perfect.
I love that. And this is so good because you had me thinking I'm going to add one more after the trip, which is a big one people miss. Your fridge will be empty, but you don't want to come home with no plan and just immediately starting like back to work, back to the grind, back to the kids.
Good point.
Without anything to get you back on track. So I love everything you guys said, the front loading before and then during the trip. But I would say too, stock your pantry, stock your freezer, have things in your fridge that you can have when you're back, especially from a short trip. You really can make sure that you at least have some Greek yogurt, egg whites, and things like that. Yeah. And just have some kind of plan for how you're going to reintegrate into your routine. Because, even if you can't work out for 3 days or 4 days, not a big deal as long as you can get back into it.
Exactly.
Perfect. I love that. All right, ladies. Well, I think this episode was super helpful. I know it gave me some great ideas that I can use with clients this summer.
Me too.
So for all of you listening, the biggest takeaway we want you to leave with is that you do not have to choose between these two extremes when you travel. There is a healthy, happy, balanced middle ground. You can feel strong in your body and you can stay connected to your goals and live your life. Yes, while still on vacation. So staying aligned when you're on the go, it's not about doing things perfectly. It's not about missing out on things. It's all about being intentional with your choices. And we've brought this up many times, George, you said it. It's like you want to honor your present self. You also want your future self. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really, really important. So you have to ask yourself, how can I stay connected with that version of myself that I want to be? And also remember that you're not losing progress in 3-4 days. You're not losing progress in a week, but you can lose it in the way you think about that week and how you approach it. So when fitness becomes part of who you are, not just something you do for a period of time, then you don't have to start over every trip. You just keep going. So we want to thank you very much for tuning in with us today. And if this episode hit home, please share it with a friend who might actually be heading out on vacation soon too. And we always love to hear from you. So send us a DM. Tell us maybe what tip you're taking on your next trip this summer. And of course, if you want more personalized support, remember that we are here to help you build a lifestyle that works anywhere, at home, vacation, and everywhere in between. So join us next week where we are going to be breaking down the 5 habits fit women over 35 absolutely do not skip. You are definitely going to want to tune into that, and we'll see you then. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Get Sculpted. We hope you feel inspired, empowered, and ready to take the next step in your fitness journey. Remember, building your 2.0 body is a unique journey for you. It's about showing up for yourself consistently and not being perfect.
If you loved today's episode, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a review and tag us on social at getsculpted.ca. Your feedback helps us reach more women like you who are ready to cut through the noise and make lasting changes.
For more daily tips, inspiration, and behind-the-scenes content, follow us on Instagram and check out our handles in the show notes below. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time on Get Sculpted. Until then, remember this: getting sculpted isn't about working harder, it's about working smarter.